You have no idea the amount of ignorant mess you're about to get into right now.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Black on Black Cinema. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
All right, guys, we're back. This is episode 180 for Panther. Unfortunately, Terrence is not in. Just random circumstance is the only reason why he's not here. Terrence is not dead. He's not in jail. He's very much alive. We've seen him. I know what he looks like. He's been back on other shows in the network. So you can hear his shining voice in other shows on the TMP Studios network. So he will be back, next week, for the preview episode. Unfortunately, he's going to miss this one. So just quickly before we get into, everything with this episode, just make sure you go to blackonblackcinema.com/premium, sign up for our premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year. Not only do you get this show and all the other shows in the network, like Dense Pixels, which, Micah, Terrence, and Brad host, which is on video games every week. You also get the Nerdpocalypse, which is our general nerd movie show. But you also get full episodes of Look Forward, which is a political show that I host with Andy, as well as Upstage Conversation, which is a show on musicals and reviewing them with Carrie, which is in a rotating group of folks, which is always pretty good. And she knows way more about musicals than almost anyone I know. So it's always, she's always got some interesting, information. Airing of Grievances, which is our Seinfeld show. As well as No Time to Bleed, which is our action movie podcast, which is a very similar format to this show. So again, blackonblackcinema.com/premium, sign up $5 a month or $50 for the full year. All right. So, episode 180 is on Panther. This is the 1995 film, directed by Mario Van Peebles, based on a novel, called Panther as well, by his father, Melvin Van Peebles. This is about the sort of rise and fall, sort of condensed timeline of the Black Panthers. This is actually the first narrative film about the Black Panthers, which is interesting. Everything else has been documentaries. I hadn't seen this. Micah, you have not seen this until now. What were your thoughts on this?
Man, I didn't really care for it. I thought it started off well. But then it gets kind of confusing and sloppy. And then the ending was like, why am I here? Why am I here for this ending? I think this movie could have been really good if they actually focused more on the Black Panther Party. They do a good job of that in like the first 2/3 of the film. But then they have this secondary plot, which is all fictional, regarding Kadeem Hardison's character.
Right.
And it really takes away from the film. Like, why didn't you just do like the Black Panther story, the Black Panther Party's story is incredibly interesting.
Right. It's compelling enough.
We don't need Dwayne Wayne to come in with some stupid subplot with Bokeem Woodbine and it, like nah, yo, like I don't. We're going to talk about the Van Peebles in a bit, but I was disappointed in this.
Yeah,
this is the best I could do if I had to score it. Is give it a 2 out of 5. And that's me being very generous.
Okay.
This movie is available for free. If there's a cut out there that just eliminates all of the Kadeem Hardison stuff, and we'll talk about Kadeem Hardison later also, but if there's a part that just cuts out all the Kadeem Hardison stuff, this would be a watchable movie. But I can't. I don't know if I can recommend this. I watch a documentary on the Black Panther Party. It's way more interesting. Yeah.
So I found this movie to not be very good at all. I found it, for me, I didn't have to wait 2/3 before I was like pretty annoyed by it. I was pretty annoyed by it within like 30 minutes. I like that they focused on the Panthers in the beginning, like you said, but it does. I feel like it goes off the rails like relatively soon, like halfway through the first act. I wanted to really like this movie, and there are moments in this movie that I liked. There's not stunt casting, but they cast a very wide net of black people of the moment in 1995, and they got everybody. Which is kind of wild to watch. Now you're just like, oh, that guy. Oh, that guy's in it. Like, it's constantly that for like the first 30 minutes. Which is just interesting.
Including a very self-indulgent director cameo, by the way.
It's a bit self-indulgent, yes.
Calm down.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, all right. We get it, Mario. We get it. So it just didn't click for me. And like, I got it. I feel like trying to do the entire Panthers story in one narrative film is really hard. Like, it really bothers me that again, I mentioned this in the preview episode, like, it really bothers me that Fred Hampton's story has not been a larger focus in the Black Panthers, like the pantheon of their story, because it is incredibly important. They have one cameo of like 2 seconds of a speech with Fred Hampton. I'm like, that seems disingenuous, but like, what? Not even disingenuous, like slightly disrespectful, I guess. Not that, I'm not saying like Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton were just like small fries in in their story. They're huge, but there's other parts of the story that are really powerful. They just sort of lightly touch on a lot of things, and it doesn't go in depth on almost anything, except for Kadeem Hardison's like weird side story, which I think is probably your point, right?
And like, it would be one thing if like I get the idea of creating this fictional character if that fictional character is supposed to represent us as we go through this journey of the Black Panther Party forming, but like,
right. But then he becomes kind of a stand-in for like COINTELPRO in a way, right? Like, right. Which is an odd thing, right? Like, he's stuck between being the bad guy and like obviously just trying to, pull a fast one on the bad guys, but also like pulling a fast one on the good guys. And like, it's just, it didn't need to exist, or it could have been handled much better, I guess.
It's messy. The whole film is messy.
Yeah, it is.
And just that subplot is my biggest beef with this movie.
It is not my biggest beef with this movie. Incidentally,
it is one of the things that for the life of me, I do not understand why it was put in.
Yeah, I mean, again, I get it. I just didn't care for it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Van Peebles.
Sure.
This is Mario Van Peebles. He best known in my eyes for New Jack City.
Of course.
A movie that, while it is still very 90s, still holds up for me.
Yeah, I think it's an exceptional movie. We reviewed it. I think it was our second movie that we ever did.
Yeah.
So you can go back and listen to episode 2. No, I think it's great. Like, I still think it's great. It has a weird stylized 90s vibe to it. And it, like you said, it feels very 90s, but it's so well done. And I think part of it is because of the performances are like, I think, frankly, Wesley Snipes carries that movie on his back in a lot of ways. I mean, the ending scene, like, he is just a villain of he is portraying a villain to be admired, right? Like his portrayal is to be admired and how good and fully vested you are in his story because he is such an asshole. But he's so good. Like, I feel like that's what helps that movie out quite a bit.
So I'm looking at his filmography as a director, and while I haven't seen everything that's on here,
right?
The things that I have seen, I was not impressed by. Panther, not impressed by. Badass, not impressed by. He did some TV shows. I don't really count TV shows, right? Like, yeah. Showrunners are the ones who do television shows. Right. The Roots remake.
I didn't see that. I heard it was good though. I heard it was good.
It's okay, but maybe it's just the old man in me kind of prefers the other one, right?
Sure. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm just not terribly impressed with the things that he does. Now, I respect the fact that Mario and Melvin are able to do the things that they want to do, right? Like, they black as fuck, right?
And, yeah, they don't apologize for their work, and I appreciate that.
And that I 100% appreciate. It's just some of the execution I think could be a little better.
Sure.
Melvin Van Peebles, I mean, I've only seen two things of his as a director. One of them, I think, is one of the greatest movies of all time. And the one right after that, which he is most known for, I did not care for at all. Those are The Watermelon Man and Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, respectively.
Yo, Watermelon Man, look, if you've never seen that movie, we reviewed it. I don't remember which episode. If you've never seen Watermelon Man, do yourself a favor. I think it is inarguable that it's one of the best underrated black movies of all time.
Yeah.
Easily. It really is.
It's one of the best films on race I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny, right? Like it's funny and it's smart and it's poignant. Like you and I are the only ones who reviewed that episode, I think, because I think Terrence unfortunately was out.
Terrence wasn't there, but the other guy was there.
That feels like a mistake. But I'm just being a petty dick. No, but I really enjoyed Watermelon Man quite a lot. I just could not believe I liked it as much as I did. And that's not because Van Peebles was doing it. I don't even think I knew that going in, but I just thought it was just such an impressive film. Like it just was. And I would charge people they should absolutely see it.
Now, he didn't write that film, and I don't think Mario Van Peebles, did he write New Jack City?
I don't know, but I can find out.
No, he did not. Maybe that's it. Maybe
it could be the writing. Yeah.
Maybe it's the writing, but, look, I respect those guys. But some of their work leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, that's right.
All-star cast, as you mentioned before. Kadeem Hardison as the main character, Judge. Man, people gave Kadeem Hardison some chances, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that his career didn't take off as well as it probably should have.
Yeah, and I think I thought
he was a pretty good actor in this.
Yeah, he's okay. He's okay. He plays a good everyman.
Yes, he does. That's true. He does.
The problem is that I think people only saw him as Dwayne Wayne. And
yeah, I think that's very true, actually.
Him trying to break out of that, really, he couldn't. And the funny thing is, he's nothing like Dwayne Wayne in real life, right? Like,
yeah, I don't get the impression he is at all.
No, he's not. He's a dude from New York. He's a New York nigga, right? Like
right.
He's nothing like that character at all. So the fact that his career didn't really take off as well as I think it should have,
right?
Kind of sucks. But Bokeem Woodbine.
He's just playing himself, right? Like, I think we're clear on this.
I mean, he's playing a guy named Tyrone.
That makes all the sense in the world to me. He's the angriest nigga in the entire movie because that's who Bokeem Woodbine is. Again, if there is ever a TNP Studios movie, I would like to throw in my my opinion that he should play me.
I told my wife that, and she was like, "They don't look alike at all." I'm like,
"No, of course not."
You don't know what you're talking about. We're not talking about looks, period. We're talking about everything, the whole package. The
That's
bald
right.
head, the bad attitude.
Yeah.
Everything.
He's just mad all the time. That's it. Breaking niggas' fingers in staircases. That's me. That's basically me, right?
Courtney B Vance. Look, Courtney B Vance is good in everything he does.
He is. Is Courtney B Vance a person who just stopped aging at a certain point and he's just been that age forever? Because I feel like he reached that age in this movie and he was like, fuck, this is it for me. Like, because he looks the same. It's crazy. He looks exactly the fucking same. They're all supposed to be like 20. He's like 45 years old. Like, nah, fuck that. Nah, this dude just like, nah, I'm not changing. Fuck that. It's kind of amazing. I like Courtney B Vance and everything, though. He's great.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
And I think he played a very good Bobby Seale, actually. I liked him a lot.
I agree. Marcus Chong as Huey P. Newton. Tank from The Matrix.
That's correct. That's correct. I could not place him, and I looked it up. I was like, oh, there he is. Also, hasn't really aged, by the way.
Yeah, you think about that, and then this, and I haven't seen him in like a current picture of him.
But I guess The Matrix wasn't even that long after this.
It wasn't. It was 4 years later. So
that's crazy, dude. That's super crazy.
You look at this movie, and then you look at The Matrix.
Yeah, you know what? Now as you said, because I'm thinking like The Matrix is like 2009. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was like 99. Jesus. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, did they look different in the time. And no, the technology was not wildly different 4 years later. Like, no, it was not. Like, come on. It was not. This feels like 1989, not 1985.
Yeah, it does. Chris Rock playing a crackhead, along with an actual crackhead, Bobby Brown.
Yes, of course.
Mario Van Peebles gives himself a role.
Is that who he was supposed? I just read who he's supposed to be. No. And it's really funny because I was like, why isn't he in this movie? That's weird. I didn't realize that's who he was. He's supposed to be Stokely Carmichael? No, yo. Come on. All right.
That's what I was talking about with these very self-indulgent.
All right, yo.
Calm down. Pump the brakes, bro.
No, yo. Knock it off. No, you're not. Wow. He's supposed to be Stokely Carmichael. No.
Yeah, he's supposed to be Stokely Carmichael. So I don't want to hear nothing about Bokeem Woodbine not looking like you.
No. By the way, I would just like to point out, I know we have similar listeners. We have a lot of listeners. Look, Chris from the Insanity Check looks like Stokely Carmichael. He does. Yeah, he does. That's who should have played him. They should have gotten him. He was around in 1995. So my wife met Stokely Carmichael once. Did I tell you that story?
Nah.
So my wife's ex-husband, who's black, that was his quote, Uncle Stokely. Like, that was just like that close. Oh, yeah. And she met him and she was like, hello. And he was like, he refused to shake her hand. He was like, nah, I don't fuck with anybody who's not black. Like, period. This is like done. I was like, I mean, it's Stokely Carmichael. Like, what the fuck? She was like, yeah, no, I got it. Yeah.
That also sounds like Chris from the Inside.
I don't fuck with you. He does look like him. That's fucking hilarious. He thought he could play stuff. All right,
yeah, yo, like,
all right, all right.
Nah. Chris Tucker is a bodyguard. I didn't see Chris Tucker in this movie.
Oh, that's not who I was talking about. That's interesting.
Oh,
was that the person you thought I was talking about offline? No. Yeah. I was talking about the fact that there is a cameo, no bullshit. It's like a series of young men, like, I guess, signing up for the Black Panthers. Nigga, Young MC is in this movie. It's super random. I think Kumo D is in this movie, so fuck it. Why not? It's really random.
Jennifer Lewis,
yes.
Dick Gregory, Angela Bassett. My wife was like, "Do you think that's where they met in this movie?"
Wait, that's where who met?
Angela Bassett and
Courtney B Vance
and Courtney B Vance.
Interesting.
Maybe. I said, well, something good's got to come from this.
So, I mean, incidentally, she's playing the same character she played in Malcolm X. That's kind of interesting, right? Like, it's in the same universe. They sort of smash themselves into the Spike Lee Malcolm X universe, but okay, sure.
What, two very different levels of filmmaking there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and Melvin Van Peebles has a cameo in it.
Yes, he does.
So this movie, let's get started. The film opens up and it's like, hey y'all, this stuff is fictional. Like, but there's a bunch of fictional things in here interlaced with some real things. And I wish we could have just did the real things and kind of taken out the fictional things, but here we are.
Right.
And they show footage of, actual white nonsense against black people.
Right.
They show the dichotomy of the quote unquote pacifist MLK juxtaposed to Malcolm X.
Right.
And we get a picture of of Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton, played by their respective actors. And it basically gets you in the mood, right? Like, it does a pretty good job of getting everything kind of set up.
Right.
And then we open up on Oakland in 1967. See a kid riding his bike, this little perverted ass kid. He sees what is this woman's name? I forget, but she's wearing a dress, and a bus blows by, and the dress goes up, and you can see her britches, and little kid is like,
I mean, like, I get it.
Looking like it, look, even she was like, boy,
you wouldn't know what to do with
this.
Yeah, you wouldn't know what to do with this.
We just get some establishing shots. We see this kid riding around in his neighborhood, black neighborhood. We see Ezel.
Again, super random. This is super random. Basically playing the same character.
Playing the same damn character. We see Ezel selling some stolen lighters, and we just kind of get the feel for this area. It's like a close-knit community.
Yeah.
Of our main characters. And we see the kid, and he's riding his bike, and he comes across an intersection. He gets hit by a car, and I presume dies, because that's a lot of blood. And that little kid got hit so hard he fell out his shoes.
Yeah, that's pretty hard.
And they were Converses, like high top Converse.
Right.
You really gotta lace them things up so for him to get knocked out, must have got hit real hard. And we see our main character, Judge, played by Kadeem Hardison, come out and give a smoldering look. And then we cut to basketball, because we just saw a child die, and now we're cutting to basketball. Like, what is going on with this movie, right?
Right. Because it doesn't even give you, like, a decent understanding of a passage of time. I just assumed later that night they were just like, nah, y'all just want to play some basketball? Like, didn't little Johnny get murdered? Nah, fuck that. Who cares?
We just saw a child get violently murdered.
Right.
And, but let's play some basketball.
Right.
And it is later that night, because he's wearing the same clothes, right? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's a little wild. But, I mean, whatever.
Bokeem Woodbine's character, Tyrone, flanked by Bobby Hutton.
Yeah. It just looks like the tall version of the kid from Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah. Or the kid from Everybody Hates Chris now.
Yeah, basically.
And he's on the basketball court. He's trying to recruit people to join this Black Panther Party. He's telling them what it is, what it's about. Everybody's very skeptical, and he's basically like, "Nah, yo." He's basically spewing the same, like, I don't know if rhetoric is the right word, but
I mean, it's kind of rhetoric.
He's being very pro-black, you know, bordering on like
Hotepishness.
Yeah. But you know, he's out there trying to recruit people. And he gets Judge and Judge's friend Cy to come with him. Right. Because Cy is incredibly interested. They're trying to do this vigil. They're like, hey, we got to get a stoplight here because we don't want another little kid to get killed. So,
right, which is by the way, a completely reasonable thing to advocate for. Like, yeah, I get that. Which is how a lot of these sort of organizations start. They generally start with one small thing that everybody can agree with, and you can easily rally behind, and then they kind of expand, which is an interesting way to tell the story. So that part I did agree with.
Yeah. So they meet up with Newton and Seal, who are leading the vigil. And there's a ton of people at this vigil, and the police are called, right?
Right. And
the police come up. They do the thing that cops do, like, oh, you niggas get out of your neighborhoods and go in your houses that you know better than we do, and you're causing a disturbance, right? And the preacher,
right,
played by Dick Gregory.
Dick Gregory. Again, everybody's in this movie. If you were black in 1995 and you had a semblance of a career, you were in this movie.
And so he just starts singing. I think they're like, "We shall overcome," or "We shall not be moved,"
or "No, we shall not be moved." Right.
And the cops are like, "You're causing a disturbance, even though all of you are
all here
live in every single one of these houses. You're causing a disturbance in your neighborhood."
Right. Well, and I think it's Newton who says, you know, they're cool with us being black when we're quiet, not when we're vocal or something to that effect, which was, I mean, that's true, right? Like,
yeah,
not that they're cool with us necessarily, but like, as long as we're docile and shut up and do what they would have us do, then it's fine, right? The second we want to get in the street and protest because one of our people gets killed in this case, then we are a scourge on America. We need to be put down. We need to be, put in our place. Like, that sadly is still true today.
Yeah, it's amazing how, you hear the same story told over and over and over again, literally for lifetimes.
Yep.
And people deny it. Like, every generation has this story. Every generation since black people were brought over here has this story of some sort of injustice. But people deny it, and people try to find ways that, to justify, well, if he didn't do, and like, nah, that's not the point.
Right. And sometimes it's not even true, right? I mean, we've seen it with, my favorite new thing is seeing white people say, well, if Breonna Taylor hadn't been involved in that lifestyle, I was like, you never read anything about this story.
Right.
Like you just saw a black person was killed by cops and you just immediately assumed that she did something wrong. She was asleep. They had the wrong house. Like, period. Like, but they don't even read. It's just, that's how racism is so, it is so much woven into the fabric of America that white people will defend cops for making a mistake and killing someone without ever reading about any of it. They don't even know the cops made a mistake. They think they went into somebody's house at 8:00 at night. They were just dealing drugs and they just shot this person. Like, that's just in their mindset without ever reading a single article about the person. So, like, I don't give any quarter to that sort of behavior, because it's like, no, you didn't even bother to read about this. Like, you just assume that the black person was guilty because you are in fact a racist.
Yep.
Period.
So the cops do what they do when they see a bunch of black people peacefully marching. They start beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And Kadeem Hardison sees his mother get hemmed up by one of these cops, and he does what any red-blooded a person would do when your mama's getting beat up. You fucking beat the shit out of whoever's beating you.
That is correct. That is the most realistic shit of all time. Nah, you're not gonna hit my mom with a nightstick. I don't give a fuck if you're a cop or not. We gotta fight.
Right.
We gotta fight. No, you gonna fuck me up. I get that. I get it.
One of us gonna die that day.
Yeah. I get it. You're gonna probably turn around. You and your boys are gonna turn around and whoop my ass. I get it. And look, that's just a social a contract that we have to have right now. Let's sign on the dotted line because we got to fight. Like, I'm gonna fuck you up. And if I get that nightstick, your ass is in a world of trouble. Like, nah, you ain't gonna hit my mom, no. Yeah, because Kadeem Hardison knocked the cop down and then just started stomping and kicking him. Like, I was like, again, highly reasonable to me. Until a cop knocked him down and put a gun on him, and he was like, all right, you got me. Like,
right.
Yeah.
He had to put a goddamn shotgun in his face.
Yeah. That's how mad Kadeem Hardison was at that moment. I understand.
So everybody gets thrown in jail. And in jail, Huey is basically preaching the gospel of Huey and Huey, as if I know that nigga. Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, they start preaching the gospel of the Black Panther Party of self-defense. And,
right. And they're countering the Reverend Dick Gregory. He's sort of like, we need to turn the other cheek, everybody. We need to just pray to God and, pray for pray for these people. They know not what they do and all this other stuff. And I think Bobby Seale is like, or no, I think it's Huey P. Newton who's like, they've been doing it for 400 years. I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing. Like, get the fuck out of here. But I like that because that sort of shows, again, like, this is in the first couple of minutes of the movie. I'm cool with how everything is going so far, right? But I think it's important to show that both sides of the sort of black community, which is like that religious, like the deeply religious side of like, we very much need to, be nonviolent and things like that. I mean, it's like very much the Martin Luther King wing of black people at the time. And then the Black Panthers, who saw themselves as sort of the rightful inheritors of Malcolm's message, right? Of like by any means necessary. Right. They very much are pushing that idea. Like, no, fuck that. We have the right to protect ourselves. So, yeah, I think it's important to kind of show that scene. And I assume the reason why they did it the way they did is to show that dynamic.
Yeah, they really hit it home too in the next scene where Judge goes home to his mother, and he starts talking about the stuff that the guys were talking about in jail, and his mother's like, well, those fellas, they're communists,
right?
They don't even believe in God. And Kadeem Hardison's like, yeah, well, we've been praying to God for a while and nothing's really happened.
Right.
And I felt myself, being Kadeem Hardison in that moment because I have crises of faith all the time. And I don't, because I can't, logically, a lot of things don't make sense.
Sure.
With religion. And that's literally the definition of faith, is that you have to have to believe it against all odds, right? That's
right.
Really the definition of that term.
I am not that person.
And it's very difficult for me to do that, from time to time.
Because you're a logical person.
It's easy to do when good things happen to you.
Right.
But when bad things happen, that's when it's tested. And
but no weapon, Micah, no weapon formed against, or God wouldn't give you too much, or God wouldn't give you more than you can handle. Agree to disagree. How about that? Agree to disagree. Yeah, I can understand it, but I like that that was his response, not like you're right or fuck God. Like, all right, both of those responses are a little extreme. Like, yeah, most people, I mean, quiet as it's kept, I think a lot of people have crisis of faith, right? Like, they try to pretend that they don't, because that's scary, right? Or you may think that you're like a weak religious person.
Right, because you don't want God to hear you, right?
Right. I'm like, but can't he like hear it in your head? You know, like, I don't know. Right. I feel like God isn't sitting there with like a stethoscope, right? Like,
right. He doesn't have a directional microphone.
Right. Well, if they don't say it over here, I won't hear it. It's omnidirectional, guys. It's cool.
Right. But people, they don't want God to hear them have their crisis of faith, but at the same time, they're like, well, God know my heart. You know what I mean?
That's my favorite line. That's one of my all-time favorite religious lines. Oh, did you cheat on your spouse? Yeah, but you know, God know my heart. What? What does that mean? He know I ain't want to, but she was fine. You know my heart, God. Come on now. Knock it off.
So,
Knock it off, God. You know what I'm about.
That's if any aspiring filmmakers out there, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see a movie about a character who is religious, has been, taught this thing, but legitimately, then they go to college or whatever and they have like a crisis of faith, because I want to know how I would love to have an honest conversation with people about how they would handle it. And I'm not going to get an honest conversation from anyone.
Neither side.
On any side.
You can't. It's too biased.
Atheist side, on the hyper-religious side, or a fence rider like me, because the fence riders tend to be afraid.
Yeah. Well, what's the movie we did? It was a Netflix movie with Chiwetel Ejiofor, where he played the Reverend, right? And he has that crisis of faith. Like, that was a pretty close kind of thing you're talking about. Which, interestingly enough, like, people think just because I'm an atheist, like, I hate religion. I don't hate religion. I think that's ridiculous. But, I mean, like, most people who are raised religious and then become atheists, we have that little bit of time, right? Like, everybody has that growing pain of when you get out of it, you're like, yo, fuck all of these people. Like, you do. Like, you just do, because you felt like you've been lied to and tricked and manipulated for years, which arguably you have. But then as you grow up, you just realize, like, everybody's journey is different, right? Like, so, like, you feel a certain way, I feel a certain way. It's okay. Like, I don't need everyone to believe what I believe. Like, I just don't. I think variety is the spice of life. There's some things I think are silly that people believe, but that's nor here nor there. But that movie did a really good job of having this guy who was so sure of the religious answers. And then when he had a crisis of faith, and he didn't lose his faith necessarily, but he certainly was like, no, like, what is this whole thing of like, why are we fighting for forgiveness from God? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like, it just didn't make sense. And like, his points were really fucking sound, by the way. Like, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was great. And
he was completely ostracized for it. Like,
yeah. He paid the ultimate price for that.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want an honest conversation where people won't just be like, well, fuck you forever.
I feel like it's almost an impossible thing. You know what you'd have to do? You would have to make a movie with two directors, one who's an atheist and one who's religious, that were actually like had respect for each other, right? Like, that's the only way I feel like you could make that. Because then you'd be like, well, but that doesn't feel exactly right. And like, the atheist would have to be a person who was formerly religious, and maybe the religious person was former atheist, right? Like, that would be kind of an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Maybe something happened in their life and they can't explain why
they believe what they believe.
They jump to.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be interesting.
There you go.
So back to this movie, cut to, I guess this is the police commissioner of Oakland.
Yeah.
And
I forget that actor's name, but I love that guy.
An FBI agent comes in and he's like, "What you know about this? What can you tell me about the Black Panther Party?" And that guy starts laughing. He's like, "It's a bunch of shines, a bunch of shines running around posting things on street lights, and they ain't nothing. Ain't nothing to worry about." And FBI guy's like, "No, you better get your house in order because we coming."
By the way, this guy could I think he might be dead now, or he's at least 1,000 years old. This guy would be my the top billing to play in a WWE movie. He would play JR 100%.
Yeah, he'd be a good Jim Ross.
Yeah, he would.
So Police Commissioner Jim Ross sends out one of his guys, Brimmer, played by Joe Don Baker.
That guy always plays a dickhead. Like, always.
Yeah.
He's good, but he always plays a dickhead.
He was in a couple of James Bond movies.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He was like the redneck American guy.
So in GoldenEye, he was a CIA. He was like the CIA liaison.
Yeah.
And in one of the earlier films, he was a villain.
Diamonds Are Forever?
Was it Diamonds? It probably was.
He's been in several, dude. He was in The Living Daylights. Then he was in GoldenEye and in Tomorrow Never Dies. And he was in You Only Live Twice?
I don't remember him in You Only Live Twice. I remember him in The Living
Oh, wait,
Daylights.
no, he wasn't in that. No, they're talking about someone else. Yeah, so, yeah, he's been in a couple of movies.
And then, he played the same character from GoldenEye in Tomorrow Never Dies. He was like their Felix. So he gets sent to watch this area where they think where the murder happened and the mass beating, the state sanctioned beating on constituents happened.
Yeah.
Because that's where they believe the Black Panther Party is originating. So, he's the one white guy in this thing. And he's very like conspicuous. And at one point
sticks out like a sore thumb.
Right. He sticks out like a big fat white sore thumb. And
he did get caught. He did get caught by Chris Rock and Bobby Brown checking out that black chick. He was like, "Oh shit." Uh-huh. Yeah, his dick ain't blind. He's like, I'm racist, but my dick's not racist.
Yeah, didn't some singer say that shit?
Yeah, John Mayer.
All right.
He was like, no, he said his dick is racist. I was like, yo, why don't you walk into traffic, you fucking asshole?
Just say you got a preference, yo. You gotta be a fucking dickhead about it.
That's John Mayer.
The Black Panthers Party learns of another faction in San Francisco calling themselves the Black Panther Party. So the Oakland OGs are going to San Francisco to be like, yo, what's up? Why y'all calling yourselves Black Panther Party? Like,
right.
Are we gonna collab? Are we gonna absorb you? Or we gotta beat your ass? Like, what's up? So they go and they meet this one dude who they find that this Black Panther Party is more of the Hotep wing.
Oh, these niggas are full Hoteps.
Like,
they go all in.
They are wearing dashikis and uniform sunglasses, and they have women pampering the men.
And Mark Curry is there. Again, yo, this is a wild cast. This is like super 1995. I can't take Mark Curry in a serious role. It's
I
fucking
can't
odd.
take Mark Curry in a comedic role.
Oh.
I don't think that guy. I didn't like hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Oh, you a hater.
But
That's fucked up.
Maybe. But they realize, all right, they're like, all right, we'll kind of work together for a while and see what's what, you know, because they need to get their numbers up, right?
Right.
At one point we see them on UC Berkeley's campus. They bought a bunch of books by Mao.
Yeah, the Little Red Book. Yes, very famous.
Remember the name of it?
What's that?
What's the name of it?
I don't remember the official name, but it's often referred to as just the Little Red Book. It's basically the tenets of I guess of communism. But yeah, that's how they make their money.
Yeah, they bought the books for 30 cents and they're selling them on UC Berkeley's campus for $1. And they're basically like, hey, let's say white people, you want to be down? You want to be down with the cause? Like,
It's quotation. It's quotations from Chairman Mao.
We don't want you in the party, but we will take your money to help fund us. And we see Kadeem Hardison on Berkeley's campus. And I'm like, wait, what? How much time has passed? Like, was he always in college?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause he was talking about, that's why he went to the military, is to get the GI Bill.
Okay. All right. So Cy and, he meets up with Cy. He sees Cy selling these books, and Tyrone, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you come to one of our Black Panther meetings, and just to see what we talk about?" Right? We go to the meeting. We see Bobby Seale and Huey Newton doing their thing. Right. And all of a sudden, bruh man from upstairs on the fifth floor.
Right. He comes in.
And he was like, "Yo, what is all this?" And they try to tell him, and he's like, "Nah, y'all stupid."
Yeah, I was like, again, what is this cast? It's crazy. Yeah, like, so they're like, basically, I can't imagine how difficult that was for them. By the way, that's what's the name is there too? Is that Rain Pryor? I think that's Rain Pryor in this one. This one moment in that scenario, it's all these people, like, and there are people just kind of sitting around, listening to them. No, it's not Rain Pryor, but I recognize that woman. Maybe it's her. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at newer images of her, which she looks a little bit different now. Yeah, actually, I think that is Rain Pryor. But who's, by the way, running for office in Baltimore, which is fucking odd, but okay, that's fine. We all live in a really weird world. So yeah, like, I can't imagine how difficult it was for them to start trying to do this with people being as skeptical as they were, right? Like, everybody loves to imagine themselves as like, I was in full support of the Black Panthers the second they started. No, you weren't. No, they weren't. Like, yo, they had 5 dudes and they were desperately trying to get people to listen to them.
Like, people are usually pretty, skeptical by nature. Like, yeah. People aren't willing to just, the people want to back a winner. And
100%.
And people, the stuff that they're saying requires work, and people don't want to work.
Not at all.
So it's yeah, that's why people trip me out when they're like, "Oh, if I was a slave, I'd have revolted against my master." No, you would. You'd be dead.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. 9 times out of 10, no, you wouldn't.
Right, and you anyway. After that meeting, Newton talks to Judge, and he's like, "Hey, yo, you were in the military? What you know about guns?"
Right, and it turns out quite a bit. Yeah. So. Yeah, they go to somebody who's willing to sell them guns, and he kind of looks through and he's like, yeah, these guns are, like, a lot of these guns are fucking garbage. Like, but some of these are pretty good. And the person selling to them,
this Asian dude was like, I don't know if I should be selling these guns to you. And they were like, hey, you got that Mao quote right there? Guess what? We communists too. We brothers.
Yeah, and so he was like, you're right. Yeah, so they were brothers in arms. So he was like, yeah, we got you. And he was like, look, you hook us up, we will guarantee to do more business. And, you know, that Asian dude was like, oh, word? Yeah.
Right. Oh, you gonna buy more guys? Well, shit. Hero, that's all you had to say.
Right. Like, I don't think you're allowed to say that, sir. Like, no, it's cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it. So yeah, they buy the good guns from them. Let me stop for a second. I want to talk about Newton and Seal for a second, and specifically Seal. So, Marcus Chong plays him, right? Obviously, incidentally, the adopted son of Tommy Chong, which is interesting, and I guess the adopted brother of Ray Dong Chong, which is also weird. But what did you think of his performance? Did you like him as Newton?
I haven't seen a lot of film on the actual Huey P. Newton to compare it to.
Right.
I felt that his performance was good. But it's hard to judge in comparison to the actual guy.
Sure.
But he seemed to pull off the I have light skin and therefore a gigantic chip on my shoulder that light skinned black people tend to have when they are super like into it. Like, and I'm not trying to be funny. It's just in my experience, light skinned black people have fucking, because they got some fucking shit to prove.
Yeah,
because
they feel like they've been forced to prove something. Right. Fairly or unfairly. Right. I would argue probably unfairly, but yes, I would agree with you.
I was especially when he was standing up to cops, like in the scene in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that shit got my blackness pumping. You know?
Yeah, no, I was digging that scene. I was like, I mean, you wildin', but like, I'm gonna cheer you on from a distance. Like, I'm not gonna be standing right there. Fuck all that. Y'all need more numbers. But yeah, no, I liked his performance. I thought it was actually pretty good. The thing with Newton, though, in reality, is he was a bit crazy. Like, he was a bit crazy.
And they didn't touch on any of that.
No, they don't. And that is a very often we like to lionize these guys, right? And it can get a little weird. And it's obviously no disrespect to what he accomplished. But like, he was pretty fucking nuts, dude. Like, yeah, he tried to, I don't know.
If you're going to tell a story, tell it all, man.
Right. Like, do people know that, like, he at the end, like, the reason why he was killed, it says, he was killed in a drug deal. I mean, yeah, because he was, like, using at the time, I believe. But, like, the other part was, like, he was trying to take over, he thought he could take over the criminal underworld and, like, use that as a means of, like, black liberation. Like, don't do that. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, I mean, he was charged with some, like, pretty wild shit. Like, and like, you don't know how much is accurate and how much is not accurate because there's obviously an entire like apparatus trying to make him look a certain way, right? Like a negative way. But also that nigga was kind of crazy. Like, and you need to be a little crazy to do what they did. So like,
yeah, you need to be a little crazy to just walk up to a cop and just be like, "Fuck you, bitch."
Yeah, like
my rights, like.
Yeah, like, all right, nigga. Like, y'all niggas was bold. Like, they were super bold. And like, all the respect in the world, but yeah, like they don't ever touch on like. Yeah, I mean, there's like a little bit of a cult of personality around him and things like that. But yeah, he was a little crazy. But Newton is a fascinating character, man. Like he's a fascinating character in the sort of the history of the Black Panthers in and of itself. I would charge people if they've never watched, Black Panthers Vanguards of the Revolution. It's a documentary. You and I both saw at a film festival, actually. That's very, very good. Like, that's probably the best Black Panthers documentary I've seen. And again, like, they deal with, like, Newton in the beginning and Newton at the end, and it's just like, there's a lot of this is, like, pretty crazy. Like, and he was kind of crazy. Like, he just was.
Which makes it more baffling that this movie chooses to focus on a fictional character. When you have when you have a character like Huey P. Newton who had literally affected change in the world,
yes,
and who had a rise and fall, like the movie, that's your movie,
right? Like, and then like there's easily a story. There's a big story here of like where Bobby Seale goes and where Eldritch Cleaver goes, like. Yo, that story is super crazy. Like Eldritch Cleaver, that nigga was also super nuts. Like, he was. And like, not in like, oh, he's crazy, shouldn't listen to him. Like, but that dude was like pretty extreme. He was extreme for them. I'm like, nigga, can you settle down? He was like, nah, fuck that. Like, I mean, like, you know, in the movie, they're like, and he just went up. That nigga went to Africa, just bounced. Like, he just excommunicated, just bounced to Africa. I can't remember where he goes exactly, but, and he was just gone for like 2 years, 2 or 3 years, I think. Like that's a part of the story. Like, there's a rift between Seal and stuff like that. Like, again, you didn't need the Kadeem Hardison story. Like, you just didn't.
Yeah, you know.
So I think part of it is because if you tell that whole story, like, you start to unravel like what in their moment was like this amazing, I wouldn't say perfection, but can easily be seen as like flawlessness.
You're undercutting the good that they did with the bad, especially if you tell it in chronological order, where it's like,
because there's a lot of fault. I mean, there's a big fault line that happens, and they all, like, you know, to some degree really fall off. And so I can understand not wanting to do it, but I also believe in the Chris Rock line, right? If you're gonna, like, you gotta, like, you can't just love the white part of the bread. You gotta love the crust too. Like, that's a part of who they are, right? Like, the Malcolm X movie is good because you see all of him. It's not, they don't just start when he's leaving jail and it's like he's Malcolm X now. Like, that's not his whole story. Like, that's not. And you gotta give people everything. And I guess maybe the problem is they didn't start like Malcolm did, where they started at this low point and worked up to this. Like, they started at like a medium point, went super high, and then faltered, right? Like, so you kind of don't want to talk about that. It's just tough. I don't know. I guess I'd love to hear from the audience. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Do you still do that whole story? Does it hurt them? Like, does it feel disrespectful to show them in their entirety? Because some people would argue maybe it does. I don't know. I don't personally think it is. I think to show them how they truly are is more important.
Yeah, I don't think it undercuts anything, and if you are concerned about leaving a bad taste in someone's mouth,
right?
You can do what this movie did, and just kind of give like a brief epilogue, like, in spite of their failings at the end, what these people did was amazing. You know what I mean? And like, that's literally the message that we want to present to you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We see, after they get the guns, we see, a montage of the Black Panther Party just kind of getting the word out. And Kadeem Hardison, studying and getting profiled. And then we see, the Panthers on patrol. They roll up in a bar where a couple of cops are beating on a black man, and, a crowd gathers, and they're like, the crowd is like, yo, what the fuck is this?
Yo, I would have been like, I'm going back inside. I'm not standing outside for whatever the fuck is about to go down.
Right. These motherfuckers from a doo-wop group are like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah, those dudes are like, huh?
They went to the future, 30 years into the future, and got some 90s threads and took it.
Yeah, there's a couple of moments I'm like, yo, this movie's made in 1995. It doesn't take place in 1995. It's a little odd. Yeah, that's a 1995 club, my nigga. Like, that's not 1967.
That is a 1995 club. That is a 1995 purple jacket.
Yeah, come on.
That is, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, a crowd starts to form just as the Black Panthers roll up, shotguns in hand. And, the cops are like, what you doing with them guns, boy? And Huey Newton is like, bitch, we here to protect ourselves and protect our fellow black man. And somebody said, don't call him boy. And what you gonna do, boy? I'm gonna defend myself, pig. And they make it a point earlier in the film that they're like, yo, you can't curse at a cop because that's illegal, but you can call him a pig, and that's not illegal.
Yep.
So we're just gonna call them pigs, which I never really like. Cops are more like dogs to me, but I guess people like dogs.
Yeah. And pigs are seen as, you know, lower form animals.
Yeah. But, you know, dogs.
I mean, it's also that, like, Muslim vibe, right? Like, people don't really fuck with pork like that, which is weird to me because I do.
Yeah,
but,
bacon is good. I just had some ham, some honey baked ham, right before we jumped on.
Pigs are not terrible people.
So there's this big like confrontation,
Right.
and this big crowd gathers around, and they see 6 at most black dudes with shotguns in their hand stand up to the police, and basically back the police down. And the cops just roll out.
I mean, look. It's a cool scene. Like, it's a cool scene because he's like, "Is that gun loaded?" And he was like, "It wasn't, but it is now." He's just like, and he cocks the shotgun. I was like, "Okay, all right, that was dope." Again, y'all think it's a wildin', but I respect it. Like, I do respect it. So,
nigga, nowadays, boy,
no, that shit would have sparked right off into a fucking gunfight. Are you kidding me? Cops wouldn't even have thought twice. Reach for my
cut to
gun.
a scene of Brenner giving his report to his chief of police and the FBI agent, and
looks like fucking Kirk Douglas and Falling Down.
And the guy was like, he was like, "So, tell us what you saw and what were they doing? Like, what were they talking about?" And the guy was like, "It sounds like the Constitution to me." Maybe,
What?
Maybe with a little bit of Bill of Rights thrown in there. Like, I don't know what you want from me, bro. And
these niggas apparently can read. Yeah. Yeah, y'all fucked up.
And he was like, "Yo, like, no, find me some shit that I can use to take niggas down."
Right.
Then we get I think this is fictional also. We get a quick scene of the chief of police. He is indebted to the fucking mob, which comes into play later, which I believe is all fictional, like just made for this movie.
Yeah. Do you recognize the head mob guy?
He looks familiar.
He's the villain. He's the head villain in Karate Kid 3. Remember?
I don't remember a lot of Karate Kid 3. I remember the Karate Kid. I don't.
You remember like he had that, like Daniel got that like evil sensei when he like left Mr. Miyagi and he was like making him break boards with his fucking hands and his feet and shit. And he was like, but he was secretly working with the Cobra Kai dojo. That's that guy. That's the same guy.
Damn it.
That guy has a super great villain face, by the way, and villain voice.
Oh yeah, he's a villain for real.
Yeah. I don't know what that guy does in real life besides act, but that guy is up to fucking no good. Arrest him right now. Trafficking kids or some shit.
So after the standoff with the cops, recruitment has gone up, and you get a bunch of people wanting to join the Black Panther Party.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny collection of people because the one guy's like, "I'm a pimp," like, blah blah blah, and they're like, "Yeah, no." I might be wrong actually, but that dude in the construction hat, that guy looks like Young MC to me. Like if that guy just started to say "bust a move," I would believe it, like 100%.
February 21st, 1967, the Black Panthers are escorting Betty Shabazz.
Yes.
And it's all wings of the Black Panther, the San Francisco branch and the Oakland branch.
Right.
And while Shabazz is having her meeting, one of the San Francisco branch Black Panthers is just doing what you're not supposed to do with a fucking gun.
Right.
Whirling the shit around and playing with it.
Yep.
And Kadeem Hardison notices this. And he notices ain't no bullets in that gun. Save that little nugget for later.
Right.
We see the Black Panthers escorting Betty Shabazz to her car. And we get
well, it's a very famous picture, right?
Yeah.
Of Bobby Seale standing in the way, standing between the cameras and Betty Shabazz with his shotgun. Like that's a pretty famous image, which is kind of dope.
Yeah.
And they do a couple times make a point of these very famous photos. They kind of recreate them. They recreate the moments, which is kind of dope.
Which is probably fun to do.
Oh yeah, like the famous Huey P. Newton one with the spear and the gun. That's a great. I mean, it's him sitting in that chair that every black person our age's parents owned. 100%. Yeah. So they head the Black Panthers after dealing with Betty Shabazz. They head back over to Hotep Central to talk to Mark Curry and the head Hotep guy, and they basically call them out for not even having any bullets in their guns, and how Betty Shabazz is this important figure, obviously very important to them, and the Hotep Black Panthers pretend like she's important to them, but they weren't even ready to fucking rumble if some shit went down. Meanwhile, the Black Panthers were absolutely ready. So the Black Panthers are like, look, this is some bullshit. And so, they proceed to, kick the shit out of, the, Hotep Black Panthers. Huey P. Newton fucking, yoked up the head dude until he, relinquished the name. He was like, you're not going to use this name anymore. And you see Eldridge Cleaver. He's standing in the back, watching this all happen. Kumo D, who is a member of the Hotep contingency, he decides he's going to leave them and go be with the real Black Panthers, because he actually believes this shit, and that's not just using it as a way to fuck bitches and wear dashikis all day.
Yeah, yo, I couldn't. It's just odd to me.
Yeah. So yeah, then you get a sort of a scene of them all kind of celebrating, right? Like they got their name, and there's a decent amount of them.
And they have their own A-Force scene of women coming in and look, we down for what you're talking about, but if you want us to wash your feet and all that bullshit that we were doing at the San Francisco branch, you can go fuck yourself.
So
Bobby Seale's like, yo, you down? Like, can you come, to meetings and shit? You gonna help us out? You welcome.
So this is a really big part. This is a missed opportunity, and I understand why it is a missed opportunity, because it's 1995, right? But if this movie was made in 2020, this is a much bigger scene, right? Because the sort of womanist movement in the Black Panthers was a big deal. So much so that, if you go and you read about the Black Panthers, on Wikipedia, if you just want to kind of grab a little bit of information, that's a whole section where they basically, the women who joined the Black Panthers were like you said, we're not going to be fucking second class citizens in this organization. Our blackness, absolutely matters. And how it worked when they first joined was, that's cool, but you need to stand behind the men. And they were just like, nah, yo, I don't think you get it. They were like, no, fuck that. And they basically argued the men in the organization down to the point where they were like, look, sexism, is anti-revolutionary, right? This idea of women not being equal is a part of the establishment. What the fuck are y'all doing? And they were just like, you know what? You're right. goddamn, that's a good ass point. And so they basically took on this whole, it's interesting. The Black Panthers are one of the first organizations that I've read about that took on this aspect of how the feminist movement in the U.S. was not really inclusive to black women. Because they didn't deal with issues of race, and how that specifically is a different perspective than just regular sexism, right? Sexism then coupled with racism is far worse. And so not that black women weren't discussing that, but just as an organization not created for and by women, they were kind of the first ones to do it. So like when people talk about the Black Panthers, like realize like they were incredibly progressive on issues that we think we just take for granted as being just general progressive issues. Like white people weren't on this shit, like at all. And these dudes, like very macho, machismo kind of dudes, it only took them like a year or two for them to go, all right, this needs to be a complete main point of the Black Panthers, which is really fascinating. And then so much to the point where the reason why you know names like Angela Davis is because they like, because of their switch to actually seeing women as equal in the movement, you know, I'm sure there were some issues obviously, but seeing them for the most part as equals in that movement, people like Angela Davis joined the Black Panthers and elevated them and their message because she was so fucking bright and so like so articulate in bringing their points like onto mainstream television and interviews. So like it turns out if you listen to women, they also have really smart things to say and can only help you.
Yeah, believe it or not. Like
crazy,
women
right?
think differently than men.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe you should have women on your team.
I don't know, man. I know. What a wild thought process, but yeah, that's actually true.
A lot of montages, showing the Panthers getting, stronger. So yeah, the women are like, we ain't doing that rubbing your feet shit. And Bobby Seale says, as long as you adhere to the 10-point program, you down with us. Now, you want to talk about the 10-point program?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think of it? Well, I'll run it down real quick.
For people to know.
One, we want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our Black community. Two, we want full employment. We want full employment for our people. Three, we want an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our Black and oppressed communities. 4, we want decent housing fit for shelter of human beings.
The fact that you have to say fit for human beings, like that's, all right, keep going.
5, we want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in present day society. 6, we want all Black men to be exempt from military service.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. I mean, that would be great, but good luck with that one. Yeah. 7, we want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of Black people. 8, we want freedom for all Black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. 9, we want all Black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in a court by a jury of their peer group or people from their Black communities as defined by the Constitution of the United States. 10, we want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. Now, those are the demands, right, of what we want. Each one of those has like a subsection for what we believe. And is the reasoning why that is the reasoning why they say, like, point number 1, there's point number 1, we want freedom. We want the power to determine our destiny. The reason for that, we believe that Black people will not be free until we are able to determine our own destiny.
Right. I mean, that's 100% accurate, right? Like, you can't, like, we are stuck in a lot of ways because we are not allowed to determine our own destiny, right? Like, it's 100% true. I mean, that one is such an overarching, obvious one that it more just melds into the other ones, right? You can't have control of your destiny if you can't live because of police brutality, or you can't be fully educated. You can't have good housing, right? Like, it's number 1 for a reason, but it's sort of an overarching point.
Right.
And a perfect one, in my opinion.
Full employment. We believe that the federal government is responsible and obligated to give every man employment or a guaranteed income. We believe that if the white American businessmen will not give full employment, that means of production, that the means of production should be taken from the businessman and placed in the community.
Yeah, seize the means of production. Yes.
Yes. So that the people of the community can organize and employ all of its people and give a high standard of living. I mean, you ain't never getting that.
No, that's a very socialist perspective. Look, I am all for seizing the means of production, 100%. I love how socialist they were. I love it. I love it because capitalism is about picking winners and losers. And in America, the losers are never white people. Like, let me rephrase that. They're never white people over black people. Like, never. It's always people of color and then poor white people on top of that.
And to the robbery by the capitalists of our black and oppressed communities. This is basically the reparations argument. We were promised 40 acres and a mule, 2 mules, and we will accept payment in currency, which will be distributed to our many communities. They cite the fact that the Germans are now aiding the Jews in Israel for genocide of the Jewish people. The Germans murdered 6 million Jews. The American racist has taken part in the slaughter of over 50 million black people. Therefore, we feel that this is a modest demand that we make.
It's not wrong.
You're never going to get...
you think you'll ever get reparations of any kind?
No.
Not
I really don't. Not like the natives got, where they gave them land and
but
casinos and stuff like that.
Yeah, they gave them land, and then it was like the shittiest land, and then they treat them like garbage. Here's your reparations. Fuck you. Like, thanks.
I don't even think black people will get that.
So. No. I don't think so. If you didn't get it, if you didn't get your 40 acres and a mule back then, you're not getting it now. No, never. We don't even get an official apology for slavery.
Right. Right.
No.
So sorry, Akon, if we're not going to get over it. Like, apologize first. Then maybe that'll be the first step to thinking about getting over it.
Yo, the idea that this nigga said, get over it. Yo, you are rich. Most of your money is living off the back of a good singing white woman. Knock it off. He ain't rich because he was locked up. No, that's not why you have all that money. You got all that money because of, what's her face? Lady Gaga. That's where all that real money came from. Lady Gaga's super talented. It's not my type of music, but that's why you're paid, dude. Like, knock it up. Knock it off. Like, fuck out of here. Get over it. You know how many Jews tell other Jews to get over the Holocaust? 0, dude. 0. Look out for your own people. Not that he doesn't, by the way. I shouldn't even say that because he does do a lot of shit to help Africans, and I applaud him for that. But don't do that. Don't talk all that cash shit about black Americans. Like, fuck off. Like, just fuck off. Like, don't do that.
I won't read all of the justifications, but they are up on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Take a look at them. They are very, very interesting.
Yeah, especially number 7.
We want immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. We believe we can end police brutality in our black community by organizing black self-defense groups that are dedicated to defending our black community from racist police oppression and brutality. The Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States gives us the right to bear arms. But we therefore believe that all black people should arm themselves for self-defense.
You believe that? You believe that?
I don't have a problem with guns. The problem comes with, I have a problem with people not taking guns seriously.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's fair. I hate to sound like, it's not the gun, it's the finger that pulls the trigger. But it's the mindset of the human being.
Oh, 100%.
And it is, and it's something that's like built into us, right? Even when people are trained to use the weapon, they're trained in how the weapon operates. They're not trained on how to think about a situation that they're in when they pull that gun out, which is why you see all these chicken shit cops fucking killing people. Like, that's the first thing they do is go for their gun.
Yeah.
Because they're not trained to de-escalate situations. They're not trained to survey situations. They're not trained to think quickly.
Right.
No. They're trained to think instinctively. And that's not, so yeah.
That's not even really thinking. Like, it's just not.
Not even right.
It's just reacting. Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with guns. Quite frankly, if I'm being honest, guns are fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, they're super fun. Are you kidding me?
Fun to shoot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't live my life,
a quarter mile at a time.
I don't live my life, with praying from my cold dead hand. Like there are much more important things in the world than a gun. And guns serve no purpose other than to destroy shit. Like,
it's to kill.
It's literally the only thing it's done for. Like whenever people are like, oh, but people kill people with cars and knives. Well, cars are not designed to kill people.
Well, that one that Kurt Russell built is, but besides that, I mean, besides Death Proof, no, it's not really a thing.
Right. The intent of a knife is not to necessarily murder a person. It is to cut things, it
doesn't always have to be a human being.
Right. Whereas a gun, the whole intent is a car's intent is to get from point A to point B. A gun's intent is to get a bullet from point A through point B.
That's a very good point. That's a very clever point, but it's absolutely true.
I don't want to hear that shit.
Through point B. Yeah. If it gets stuck inside point B, that's not their problem. That's your problem. Right. That's point B's problem.
Stuck inside point B and then just shatters everywhere. That's even better, right? Yeah. Because then point B is dead.
Right.
For real.
Good day. All right, That's funny. Through point B. Yeah, I look, I mean, I'm of two minds when it comes to the arming black people argument. In one aspect, it'll probably work partially. And the other aspect is gun laws were not written for us.
No.
They're not. And
they were written to spite us.
Literally they were used in order for people to hunt us down and return us as slaves because we were property that got away, right? Like that's a fact. So this idea of, well, if every black person has a gun, that'll fix things. No, I don't think so. And I'm not mad at black people who, like there's like the Huey P. Newton gun club and there's, a number of black gun clubs that, have been protesting for Black Lives Matter. They're like very much in the tradition of Black Panthers, very militarized, very, regimented black folks with guns. And like it's something to see. And you're like, oh, okay, they're not fucking around.
Have you seen the NFA group?
I don't know what that is.
The not fucking around.
Yeah. That's the group I'm talking about. Yeah. They were doing like the Black Lives Matter protest. And I was like, oh damn, they're not fucking around. I forgot that's their name. That's hilarious, by the way. It's a solid name. But I can appreciate that, but I also know that people like Philando Castile were killed.
Yeah.
And he was a legal gun owner. The laws are not made for us. And I'm not going to make the argument that that's a reason not to have a gun. I'm not going to have a gun. I have a kid in the house. I'm just not going to have a gun. Like,
oh yeah, I'm not going to have one now.
No, I'm just not. But even if I didn't have a kid, I just think that 9 times out of 10, like this idea that you're using it to protect yourself, as a black person works when it's inside your home. The second you take it outside your home, no, I don't think so. I think it is used as an excuse to murder you. I think that's all it is.
Yeah.
And that's sad. And look, it's supposed to be equal justice for all, and the laws are supposed to be equally applied. But I mean, we all know the reality of these things. They're not equally applied at all. So,
where are we? So, earlier in the movie, I forgot to mention that Huey pulls Judge aside and says, "Hey, you're a really smart guy. You're a bright guy. You're a military guy. I got a plan to use you to spy on the cops for us."
Right.
He's like, "How am I going to do that?" And he's like, that big fat white cop, he's probably going to come to you because, you were in the military and, he thinks he can convince you that all this commie shit is bullshit. So you were going to work for him. You were going to be a spy for him, but you're actually a spy for us.
Right.
And, sure enough, the white cop comes up to a judge and is like, "Hey, how about you be a spy for me?" And he's like, "All right, I'll do it." And then he reports back to Huey and is like, "Yeah, the thing that you said was going to happen happened." He's like, "All right, let's just keep this between us."
Yeah, I feel like, could you inform at least 2 other people? So Bokeem Woodbine, but stop digging in my ass every time I see this nigga. Like, yo, relax. You're too angry.
Let's keep this between us because this didn't happen in real life.
You're right.
We see a shot of police killing an unarmed man. And we cut to the funeral. The mother of the victim says, they said he was trying to steal a car. Like, that's bullshit. Like, he wouldn't do that. And then we see a rally, and at the rally, they're like, "Yo, this dude had a bum leg. How's he running from the cops, yo?"
Right.
Like he had his hands up, like when he was murdered. Like, how the hell?
Again,
this shit don't make sense.
Again, there's a movie made in 1995 about the 1960s, and it's the same exact story.
Yep.
Hands up, don't shoot, shot by the police anyway, right? I mean, this is far before, Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and, Breonna Taylor and, all these other people, Sandra Bland, like all before that. And it's the same exact story. It's the same story, right? Like, I don't understand how people in 2020 don't go, that's a bit odd, isn't it? Like, it's the same exact stories. Yeah, because the same shit has been going on, and cops don't change.
Right.
They don't change. Like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. But I guess people don't really look back. People only, they stay sort of in their 1 to 2 year sphere, right? Like, they don't really go back to the 60s or 70s to try to figure out, what was it like back then?
Well, people don't go back to the 60s and 70s because they don't, because that period in history is not good for white people. Like,
that's true.
Yeah. Like, you think about everything that happened in the 60s and 70s, even the good shit, right? Even people don't even think the moon landing was real, yo.
That's crazy.
Like, that's nothing. That is literally nothing but American achievement, and people don't think that happened. Like, you got a bunch of people getting, you got the civil rights movement, which meant which showed white people showing their fucking ass.
Yeah.
You got
on video, by the way. There's no denying it. None.
Right. You got Vietnam. You got multiple assassinations of beloved people. Like, white people just block the 60s out, and black people focus on that shit. Like, yo, look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah.
And they don't. No, you hear white people talk about the good old days. They always talk about the 50s, and they always talk about the 70s. They never talk about the 60s.
No. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So, they're at this rally at the police station. They are able to get into the police station but they have to relinquish their weapons. Cops were like, "Yeah, we did our own internal investigation of the murder that we committed, and we found nothing wrong."
We found ourselves quite innocent, actually. We looked into it. We're fine.
That always tripped me the fuck out. Yeah, we conducted an internal review. Like,
they're like a mega super white cop there. This dude is made of like a bunch of lesser white cops. Like, how's Ben Roethlisberger doing in there?
Well, that's how you get promoted, right? You just got to depends on how big you are.
You're just physically bigger than everyone else. Like, this nigga is like a foot taller than every person walking next to him.
He's the boss. And then all the other ones are his underlings.
Yeah.
Right. We cut to a warehouse. We went back to the judge story. And, this is not interesting to me. Blinner, the cop, is leaning on Judge to, get some dirt, right? Like, I need you to get some dirt on these people. And you better fucking do it.
Right.
There's a cookout.
Incidentally, incidentally, about this cookout, today years old when I learned that Bobby Seale released a barbecue book back in the day. He did. It was like barbecuing with Bobby Seale or some shit like that. Like, hold on.
Barbecuing for the Brotherhood.
It was called Barbecuing with Bobby Seale, Hickory and Mesquite Recipes. It was released in 1987.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. He also wrote a book called The Lonely Rage, which was, an autobiography, which was about something besides fucking Sweet Baby Ray's ribs and shit. But yeah, he also did other things.
At this barbecue, they're like, yo, we see Stokely Carmichael at this barbecue.
No, we didn't.
And
nigga, that's the most ridiculous casting of all time. Yo, all right, relax.
And they plan on storming the Capitol in where's the capital of California? Sacramento. And
yes.
Huey wants to go, but Bobby says, no, we can't have both of us go everywhere all the time, because then people will figure out that we're not exactly, we got these people thinking that we are bigger than we are.
Right.
And we don't want it to get out there, it's just like 8 of us. We cut to Huey and Judge, and they're going over their plan, and basically it's like he was just like, stay the course, bro, stay the course.
Yep.
Cut to Sacramento. We see images of Reagan, Reagan, talking about Reaganomics or whatever the hell he was talking about.
Probably bedtime for Bonzo. Whatever bullshit ass nonsense I hate Ronald Reagan. There's a whole part in this movie where they're like, fuck Ronald Reagan. I'm like, I'd print that on a t-shirt. I will never forget. I was working in this office, this company I used to work for, and Ronald Reagan died. And they had the big funeral in D.C. because, obviously former president, that's what you do. And this white woman was like, are you going to D.C. Next week? And I was like, why would I go to D.C.? Like, I just totally spaced on it. And she was like, for Ronald Reagan's funeral. And I literally, like, she clearly liked Ronald Reagan. I laughed in her face. I was like, fuck no. No, I'm not going to that. No, fuck Ronald Reagan. Like, knock it off. No, she was crushed. She was shocked to know I think I was like a 22-year-old young black man was not a huge fan of Ronald Reagan. But yeah, spoiler alert, lady. No, fuck that guy. No, absolutely not.
Oh, shit.
I want to see the Gipper one last time. The Gipper should have died decades before he did. Also, you dummies didn't even know a person who had fucking Alzheimer's was president. None of you knew. Oh, he just seems interesting. No. Just like y'all Republicans don't know now. Your president.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Your president is mentally deficient. Sorry. Look, Joe Biden ain't the swiftest either, but he's not suffering from a mental collapse. He's not. He's just old.
He took a test, Jay.
I aced it. I aced the test.
Aced it. Yeah, they graded him on it. And they put a big A, and then they circled it in red.
And then they gave him a sticker and a cookie. And he went back to the White House. I aced the cognitive test. Republicans are so fucking stupid. They only give that when they think that you're mentally, there's something wrong with you. Like if you have a stroke or some shit. That you don't just take the test on a Wednesday randomly. No, right. They give it to you to see.
It's not a part of the presidential curriculum.
Right. People are like, why doesn't Biden take the test? He doesn't need the test because he's not fucking losing it. He knows where he is. You fucking morons. But anyway.
So, the Panthers, Ronald Reagan sees a bunch of niggas with guns and it was like, well, we can't let that happen. Well, we got to rethink these laws.
Yeah, that's right. Mr. fucking Ronald Reagan, everybody, the father of conservatism, couldn't wait to remove right to carry. What happened to the Second Amendment then? They don't say shit about that. Well, funny that.
So they stormed the Capitol, and
That's not exactly how this happened, by the way.
how do you know how it happened?
Yes. So what actually happened is they went to the Capitol. They got as far as like not exactly like
on the floor,
right. Like that's a little over the top. Like they got into one of the chambers where they were immediately stopped, and then they had to hand over their guns. And they agreed to do so. And then they eventually left and were given their guns back and met up with more Black Panthers who were outside. Like, no, they didn't just like the way they have it. It's like they just like kicked in the door. Like, that's right, we're taking over. Like it's not exactly like where they're walking across like the black and white floor is probably where they were stopped.
Yeah, like they're not just gonna let them go upstairs and then we took a wrong turn and now we're on the assembly floor.
That's not how that would have happened. No, a bunch of niggas with shotguns. Are you out of your fucking mind? They'd have killed every one of them in there. No. By the way, I mean, yes, the laws are quite different for white people because that's what they did in Michigan recently. They literally.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
They literally went in. They did not get as far as the assembly floor, but they basically did what the Panthers did. And they did not give up their guns. They absolutely like went and yelled in cops' faces and shit.
Yeah.
Like
I remember that.
Like, so if you watch this or if you know about this and you're like, this is unacceptable. I can't believe they did that. They're scaring people. Why is it any different for those white dudes who did it in Michigan? Why is it no different? Do you hold the same vitriol for them? I bet you don't. Probably not, right? Like you probably are like, well, you know, I mean, those are patriots. They just didn't want to wear a mask. You know, like, but you know, normal thinking people would say yes. Both things are very extreme, obviously. One was about the murder of black people by police and, you know, treating people horrendously with violence. The other one was they didn't want to wear a dollar store mask for 20 minutes when they went into the fucking Piggly Wiggly because they're giant children. Because there's a pandemic going on and we're trying to make sure people stay alive. But, you know, 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. Basically the same.
It tripped me out when they say they can't breathe. Because then I'm just like, if you can talk, you can breathe, right? Ain't that what the cops say when they're murdering people, when they're asphyxiating black people?
Yeah, that's correct.
You can talk, you can breathe.
Well, how about this? I can't breathe. You know, surgeons wear masks for 12 hours a day when they're doing surgeries, right? Surgeries?
No. You can't use the surgeon thing because surgeons are smart and therefore uppity, and they're not like the working man. You have to use the military example. People in the military have to wear masks over their face in different theaters of war, especially in like sandstorms and shit like that.
That's
they
true.
got to wear masks over their face, and they have to do it for God knows how long. And if they can do it, you can do it.
I would just argue that the wrestler Kane fought in the Royal Rumble and eliminated 11 people, and he was wearing a mask the whole time. So how about that?
Fucking luchadors wear masks for 20 minutes at a time, and they are exerting a lot of physical movement.
Right. Sometimes they knock their eyeball right out of their head. That's not true.
Wrestling is so stupid. We got to the Federal Bureau of Investigation run by one J. Edgar Hoover.
So you're an asshole.
I legit take that back. You're not supposed to misgender people anymore, but even for comedic effect.
I mean, there's a line in this movie. I don't know if you caught it later on.
I did.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I laughed.
And he's like, well, these niggas can't possibly be figuring this stuff out on their own. They have to be backed by the communists. So figure out who is in charge.
Yeah. I mean, it's same thing as Spook Who Sat by the Door, right? like these black people, they gotta be, the Russians have got to be involved in this, right?
Yeah.
I saw, this is going to sound like a really weird comparison, but it's for the same reason. I saw somebody talking about that show Ancient Aliens, like on the History Channel, which it's on the History Channel. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. But, you know, it's like the aliens built the pyramids. And someone was like, it was like a white dude. He was like, I noticed that it's only ever white dudes who say that because, God forbid, black people in Egypt were smart enough to build pyramids. It had to be aliens, right? Like, which is the implication is that black people aren't smart enough to do these things. Only white people could possibly build shit like this.
Yeah,
or
this
aliens.
is a tremendous feat of engineering. Like, black people couldn't have figured this out. And I don't know how they did it, so aliens.
Someone gave them the technology. But it's the same idea, right? It's like black people aren't smart enough to organize and do all these other things. Like one of the great things that white people have really fucked up over time is underestimating our ability to adapt and overcome. Like, yeah, you underestimate us at your peril. You really do. So,
yeah. I'm going to skip ahead a bit.
Yes, please do.
There's a section here where Ezel and Sai, Judge's friend, they have a subplot. And it turns out that Ezel kills Sai, and that kind of
because Ezel is selling drugs in the community.
Yeah, Ezel is still selling drugs in the community. Who cares? There's a rally at one point, and Eldritch Cleaver is it Eldritch Cleaver who's just like fuck Ronald Reagan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget
like and he says that shit for like 2 solid minutes.
I was fine with it.
Like, is wild.
So, can we talk about Eldritch Cleaver for a second?
Sure.
So, Eldritch Cleaver, again, I mentioned earlier, quite the character. At one point, he defects. I'm trying to remember where he ends up going. Yeah. Oh, he went to Algeria. For a while, which I think is the time frame where they're like, oh, he just left. Yeah, he goes to Algeria for a while. He then moves to France later on. At one point, he became an evangelical Christian, which is really wild. Then he also became a Moonie. Like the Some Young Moon, like the cult.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus.
He started a short-lived revivalist ministry called the Eldritch Cleaver Crusades, quote, a hybrid synthesis of Islam and Christianity he called Chrislam, along with the auxiliary called the Guardians of the Sperm.
I'm not following anybody who has a portmanteau for a religion. You can't even think of a name for your phony religion that you have to use two. All right.
You want to hear something to really make you mad? By the 1980s, Cleaver had become a conservative Republican.
Shut up.
He appeared at various Republican events and spoke at the California Republican State Central Committee meeting regarding his political transformation. In 1984, he ran for election to the Berkeley City Council but lost. Undaunted, he promoted his candidacy in the Republican primary in the 1986 Senate race, but again was thankfully defeated. The next year, his 20-year marriage fucking ended, because he was married to Kathleen Cleaver, who was also a Black Panther, who was also in the movie. And I guess she was like, nigga, what the fuck am I still here for? Then he was placed on probation in 1988 for burglary and was briefly jailed later in the year for testing positive for cocaine. He entered drug rehabilitation, good for him, for stated crack cocaine addiction 2 years later, but was arrested for possession in Oakland again. He moved to Southern California, and then he eventually died. Yeah. So, like, this is maybe why you don't do the full story of these guys. Because, I mean, they were flawed, right? They were flawed. Eldritch Cleaver was pretty fucking flawed. Like, he was pretty flawed. Yeah. Like, that dude became a conservative Republican.
It's interesting, though. Like,
I
would watch that.
Look, here's the thing. When we saw that documentary, Vanguards of the Revolution, when they kind of did the end, they were like, and this is what happened to all the guys at the end. People were like, what the fuck? Like, people were shocked. They were super shocked by that. And rightfully so, because it's a little crazy. But it proves my point that I've made often in politics. When you go far enough left, you end up back on the right.
Yeah, you go all the way around, man.
You do.
God damn.
Because it's not a straight line. Politics is not a straight line. This is a straight line. It's not a straight line. It's a circle. And if you go far enough, you'll end up back there. Like, yeah, we need to take back, this country from everybody. Okay, cool. We need to separate. Oh, okay. And then get control. Okay. And then control everybody with this more, strong hand. Oh, that's getting a little fascist there. Okay, well, maybe I'll just become a Republican. It's close enough. Oh, all right. Well, then you've made your full transition. Yeah. So, and he was definitely the most extreme of all of them. And look what happened. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm going to skip.
Again, please do.
The next
40 minutes.
15 minutes.
That's more than fine.
Because it's all about Judge and his friend dying and trying to figure out who it is. And Bokeem Woodbine thinks Judge is a snitch and all that. And it does not help the movie. Matter of fact, I'm going to skip a lot of this.
Why don't you just go to when Newton is shot? That's probably the more prevalent part.
Yeah. So at one point, Huey P. Newton is pulled over with his friend. It's raining. Cop pulls him over, looks at him. He recognizes him, tells him to get out the car. And he's like, he's like, yo, I know who you are, nigga. Like, you about to fucking die. Yep. Meanwhile, the other cops got the friend hemmed up. Fight breaks out. Gunshots are heard, and Huey Newton is shot. As Bobby Seale is coming out of prison.
Yeah.
They revive Huey and throw him in jail because they're like, you killed this cop.
Yeah, Officer Fay, I think his name was.
He doesn't get a name because fuck him.
No, I mean like in real life, like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. He doesn't get a name.
Whatever.
We find out that MLK was assassinated. Riots ensue. People in the party are getting real antsy. Eldridge is like, yo, we gotta fucking kill some cops now, yo.
Again. And this nigga was wildin', yo. He was super wildin'.
And Bobby Seale is like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about, yo? Like, we can't go around killing fucking cops. And Eldridge is like, nah, we're going to do that shit. Come here, little Bobby Hutton. And that poor kid, man.
So hold on a second. What I found interesting is Tyrone, played by Bokeem Woodbine, who is normally a completely irrational character in this movie. He's very angry. Again, a guy of my own heart. He has like the most reasonable statement. He's like, Huey is in jail. If we just start killing cops, Huey's a dead man. And he's like, so? Like, nigga, what the fuck? Yo, Eldridge didn't give a fuck. He just didn't give a fuck.
And he got a little boy shot and killed for it. They ambushed some cops. Cops give chase because, like, you shoot at a cop, like, that's it, yo. You at a 6-star wanted level. That shit ain't going down until you get wasted, right? And
fucking
all the
dork.
cops fucking come after him. And there's a firefight, and Eldridge and Bobby Hutton are in a building, and they're just shooting at the building, like, because we killing these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And they're like, Eldridge is like, if we take our clothes off and show that we're unarmed, then the cops won't do shit to us. No, nigga.
Like, yeah, I mean, maybe that's accurate, but I don't want to get shot buck ass naked either.
Right.
You know, like, what if that shit don't work? then my dick's out. Like, yo, what are we doing, yo? Like, what are we doing? Nah, yo, I'm gonna keep my black leather jacket on, yo. Like, fuck that.
And during this, Lil Bobby Hutton is murdered.
Yes.
Well, I guess not technically murdered, but he is killed.
Well, no, they shoot him in the back.
They
No,
shot him in the back.
they shot him in the back
murdered.
and then continued to shoot him while he was on the ground. I don't know how accurate that part is. I have no idea. That feels like for dramatic effect, but I would take a wild guess that the cops straight murdered him. I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah. And then one of them was like, he was going for this.
Again, a movie made in 1995 about at this point, like late 60s, early 70s, same exact arguments. The same excuses.
The exact same excuses, yo. Like, all right, man. Bobby has a funeral. All right, let's cut to this. Let's talk about this part, right? This part on the boat.
That fucking villain.
This is bullshit. Right, like this is all bullshit, right?
There's a lot of conjecture. This is a lot of conjecture about the heroin. This is a part of the movie I really did not care for. Like, I just didn't, because it feels a little too conspiratorial for me. Though I wouldn't be shocked by that news. It feels a little conspiratorial to me.
So, in reading a review of this movie by Roger Ebert, Mario Van Peebles has said Mario Van Peebles has said there is no evidence that the FBI plotted to weaken the party by flooding Oakland with heroin. Although the ultimate conspiracy makes a convenient plot point, it does a disservice to young people who want to understand what really happened. The Panthers' end came through exhaustion, through the imprisonment or exile of their best leaders, through the harassment of the FBI, and because some of the members became disillusioned by the questionable activities of others. They weren't done in by the fucking mob.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't be shocked to know shit like that happens in this country at all. Certainly black people don't. It feels a little too Hollywood.
Yeah, for this particular story that's being told right here.
Like, if it was a fictional story altogether, I would be like, all right, whatever, that's fine. But although it's a little silly, but yeah,
like the FBI and the local government are conspiring with the mob to flood Oakland with heroin, but it's got to only be in the black areas.
But that's not how drugs work, mother. Like,
right, dude. Right. Like, it's
right. And
very odd.
And it also sensationalizes a thing that doesn't need to be sensationalized, because the truth is actually much more horrendous. But this idea that the heroin epidemic was solely designed by the government to take down the Black Panthers, and it's a weird way of like shitting on white people, or these like particular white people, by saying, well, you were so stupid, you flooded the hood with drugs, and now it hurts your own people. And it's like, but it kind of absolves the FBI for the horrendous shit they actually did.
Right.
Like, just to make like a goofy, like, oh, fuck you at the end. Like, no, dude. Just Google or look at COINTELPRO's Wikipedia page. Yeah. And then go down to methods. Yeah. There's a picture of of Fred Hampton murdered by the police. Right. Like, dead. That's what they did. Like, you don't have to make it some sensationalized drug shit. Like, that's what pissed me off. Like, why is Fred Hampton in it for 2 seconds? They fucking murdered that guy. Like, for people who don't know, when you watch that movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, I'm sure they will deal with it. It will be the end of that movie, and you will be very fucking angry what the police did and what COINTELPRO did. They literally built a fucking set of his house and practiced raiding it for 2 weeks to murder that guy in his bed.
Yep.
Like, that is a legitimate thing that they did. You think you're pissed about the Breonna Taylor story now? Wait till you see what they did then. And then think about what they did now. is fucking horrendous. You don't need to make this about some other extra thing. Just tell that story. Just tell that fucking story. It's not like it ended when the Black Panthers all rode off into the sunset and it was fine. No, it wasn't. What the fuck? You don't have to make shit up. What happened in reality is far worse than what you did. Because what it looked like is you were trying to give like a weird jab at white people, which didn't work. Show this.
Right. It doesn't like that's my biggest, like that's the biggest
and this
problem.
is where I'm not a fan of this movie for that. Like that's my big issue with this movie.
Yeah. It tells a story that doesn't need to be told, and the story that need to be told, which is much more interesting, is just not. They gloss over. This is such a missed opportunity, man. This is such a missed opportunity. The day of the trial, for Huey's freedom, Huey's on trial, and he's like, "Yo, I ain't do this shit," and they call in a surprise witness, the passenger that was in the car with him, who effectively plays the Fifth Amendment to make it seem as if he would be incriminating himself,
right?
Essentially taking the dive for Huey,
right?
But he worked out a deal so that in order for his testimony that he would be granted immunity. So they gamed the system.
I mean, pretty smart.
Yeah. It's really smart. The fucking commies must have told them to do it.
Yeah, obviously.
After that, it's all Judge's story. And when I say it's all Judge's story, it is.
Wow.
It's like 25 minutes of just all Judge's story. And Judge's story is not interesting. Bokeem Woodbine eventually, like, who has kind of been at odds with Judge for thinking that he was some sort of snitch. They all have our conversation and realize, oh, he's not the snitch, but and Tyrone, Bokeem Woodbine's character, essentially sacrifices himself so that Judge and the lady friend that Tyrone had would get. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. They basically realize Judge eventually convinces Tyrone and that woman. I don't remember her name. She's also Black Panther. He convinces them that no, he's not a snitch. In reality, he was playing the cops or whatever, and he gets them to realize that the mob is running this warehouse that actually Ezel is running. Why he's involved, it doesn't even make any sense. Why would the mob do that? But okay. So he tells them that there's a warehouse in town that they're manufacturing all these drugs. Again, why would they manufacture them all in town? That doesn't make any sense. But they decide to put their grievances aside and take a Rescue Rangers fucking plot point and go and take down this warehouse in the last moments of the movie. And it's supposed to be, like you said, Tyrone makes his big sacrifice by lighting the warehouse on fire and shooting at the cops. And getting
stop
killed.
These drugs from getting in our community. This is about the Black Panthers, nigga. What are you talking about?
Right. That's what
I'm saying, yo. Like,
I don't care for that kind of storytelling. Like, you don't need to make up a story. Some stories have really cool, interesting beginnings and really cool, interesting characters in beginnings, and then they kind of fade off. That is like a lot of stories, right? Like, just like, they did this great thing and then they're just like lived out their life and they got old and died. Like, whatever. But that's not what happened with these guys. Like, part of it is they became iconic and their egos took over, and some of them didn't. Right? And some of them didn't. Some of them were crazy. Some of them weren't. Bobby Seale lived out the rest of his life and is like doing well and teaching courses and shit like that. Writing barbecue books in the 80s, but but you don't have to create this new narrative about them or this new narrative. See, the problem is when you make that, like, and then they flooded the community with heroin, and that's how it happened. Not to say that the government didn't help flood the black community, but not for this reason, right? Like, that's the problem, right?
Not to stamp out the Black Panthers.
Like,
right?
no, they did a lot of things, but that was not it. But when you make that argument that that is what they did, or you push this narrative that that's what they did, the problem is you think that people are going to realize what the truth is and what's not the truth. The fact of the matter is, most people don't sit and read about this shit. They just take whatever you said as fact. And like, people don't know that they murdered Fred Hampton. People don't know that, like, I know that people don't know those kind of stories because people don't even understand. Like, there's only one line in this movie where Bobby Seale is like, we're not racist, we're not anti-white, we're anti-oppression. Like, you can't fight racism with racism. Like, people don't even know that the Black Panthers was not a racist organization. They don't know that. And yet you didn't focus on that at all. It's like a couple of times they like sell books to like white kids and they're like, you can't join, but thanks for like supporting us. Like, that's it? No, dude, that's not it. Like, again, it really bothers me that Fred Hampton is not in this story. Like, his whole thing is this dude went to Appalachia and got poor white people to be like, look, you getting treated like shit too. Join us. And they were like, you right. And they were joining with him. And that's why they were like, he's got to die. And that's a major part of their fucking story. And he just ignored it to go, oh, I don't know, heroin at the end, I guess. Fuck it. Oops. Backfired. Got us too. Oop. You guys are right. Like, that's dumb. That's a fucking Rescue Rangers ending, man. That's stupid. Like, come on. You could do better than that. Like, there's way more there. It's just cheap. It's just very cheap to me. And again, these guys deserve better than that. They do. They deserve better than that. A lot better.
A very disappointing ending to an overall disappointing movie. I would love to see another shot at this.
Yeah.
You know, the big thing that's very disappointing is like all the elements are there from a movie making standpoint.
Yep.
And like 60% of this movie is interesting, but the other 40% has to do with Judge and whatever stupid story he has, and it's not great, man. So yeah, this might be like a 1.5, man. Like I don't really care for this movie.
No, I'm gonna give it a 1. I think you're being generous. To quote Roger Ebert, there is a fascinating study to be made of the Black Panther Party. Panther is not that film. And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like, there is so much here. Like, it just is. And I really think, I think Judas and the Black Messiah is going to be that movie, right? It obviously doesn't deal with all of their story because it's mostly centered on Fred Hampton, but there's a lot there, even in his story, that you just deal with him. Just deal with him, or just deal with the whole thing, but give it time to spray it out. Like, I would love to see a really well done Black Panther television series, like, you know, like, or a mini series dealing with these guys.
Yeah.
Like, if you can do one on the Wu-Tang Clan and make it super interesting, I would argue you could do it on these guys, 100%.
Yeah.
You just gotta have the desire to do it, and I would watch the shit out of it, but you gotta have the desire to do it. So Panther is not it. A lot of people said, "Oh, you gotta see this movie. You gotta see this movie." I didn't. I really didn't.
I mean, maybe y'all saw it when you were 15. You know,
right? And that matters too, right? Like, I'm not gonna denigrate people for that, but nostalgia is a hell of a thing.
Yeah, watch it again with fresh eyes, with adult eyes.
Yeah.
So
that's a no for me. It's a no for me. So, you know, leave your comments on the bottom. I'm sure we're sellouts or whatever. All right. Any other parting words?
No, that's it.
All right. So we will see you guys next week for preview for episode 181. Not sure what that'll be, but who knows? Maybe it'll be something better. Probably. Okay, guys, we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye. You're watching the Black on Black Cinema YouTube channel. Make sure you check out our full reviews of Black movies, past and present. And every other week, we do a preview episode where we talk about a random topic that affects the Black community.